Hi, and welcome to a very special edition of the Mets Up podcast. I'm Howie Rose, the radio play-by-play voice of the New York Mets, and I want to thank our regular hosts on this feature, James Schiano and Mark Luino, who heard the owner was going to be on, and they said, "Oh no, we're not the ones going to talk to him. You take it." So I am more than happy to welcome Steve Cohen, the chairman and chief executive officer, as well, of course, as the owner of the New York Mets. And Steve, first off, thanks so much for being here. And, I think back to the last time we did this, I think you had owned the club for about all of 6 weeks. And then we were hit with the pandemic. Does that seem like a generation ago now?
Man, that first year was a wild one. A lot going on that first year, but we managed through it somehow, and so looking forward to this year. And by the way, I want to congratulate you, Howie, on being inducted in the Mets Hall of Fame, along with Al and Gary and Howard. And we're looking forward to that. I think the day is June 3rd. And I want to forget Jay Horowitz. He's going to get the Achievement Award. Yeah, it should be a great day. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate that. And, between Tom Seaver and me, we've combined for 311 wins and 3 Cy Young Awards. So I feel like, equal footing. That's about right.
And, it's always been a good combo.
Thank you. And I do miss Tom, by the way, having worked with him as well as grown up watching him. But that was then, and this is now. And what's now is also really aimed at the future. And you're going to have a futuristic new scoreboard. We're going to get into a lot of different things about the ball club. But I know that we've already seen some pictures start to leak, at least in terms of the skeletal frame of the big new scoreboard. How different is it going to be from what we've had so far?
Well, all I know is when I'm looking at the scoreboard from my box, I'm squinting. Okay, I don't think you're going to have to squint to see this. It's going to be, the graphics are going to be amazing. It's the newest technology. We're excited. I mean, I think it's going to add a lot to the game and fan experience. So it's just an example of some of the stuff that we're thinking about and doing, that the fans will, when they get to the ballpark, they'll see some changes. Changes in different sections of the ballpark, different lounges. It's part of my commitment to continually try to improve the fan experience at the park. And so, we'll continue to do that along the way.
I know that you've had listening sessions conducted with many of the fans. How have those worked? What kinds of ideas have been exchanged, and how many of them do you think you can successfully implement?
Well, I mean, we have 50 acres of asphalt. That's the parking lot, right? And what can we do with it? And so it's really important for me to reach out to the community and try to listen to some of the things that they would like to see. I mean, we have an amazing waterfront right there, and we want to connect the waterfront to Flushing Meadow Park, going through where our stadium is. And so all sorts of interesting idea, high-speed ferries as opposed to people driving, and community type facilities that will enhance just being in the area and attract people down to the ballpark and the surrounding area that we're going to develop. I mean, we're thinking about an entertainment complex. I mean, I've listened to the fans, and they've been telling me there's nothing to do before the game and after the game. And I kind of disagree with that. You can get your muffler changed, and you can get your tires. Okay, but
are they open late?
Well, they might open late for the right price. So other ballparks have lots of entertainment, lots of reason to stay around the ballpark, restaurants and bars and other forms of entertainment. There's no reason why we can't do that too. And so we're actively listening to the community, actively listening to the fans. I always say I'll take a good idea from anybody. But I'm enjoying the whole process of just engaging and trying to figure out, what to do with 50 acres of asphalt.
What kind of a timeline do you have for when something visible and tangible will sprout, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's some sort of housing complex or other type of entertainment areas? What in the short term do you envision coming first?
Well, I do think we're going to have to create a master plan, and we're in the process of thinking about that and thinking about possibilities. And so listen, this is going to take a while. I mean, to do something great and to build it is not going to be a something that's going to happen overnight. But I'm thinking long term, and I'm thinking about what's best for the community, what's best for our fans over the next 10, 20 years.
Where would that stuff be located? Would that be on the other side of Seaver Way, or will that area be used for parking and maybe things even closer to the ballpark will pop up?
Well, we're going to use the parking lot and then build garages and try to improve the traffic flow at the same time. If we can spread out people arriving to the ballpark and leaving after the game, leaving at different times, maybe sticking around, having a drink or having a bite after the game, it'll smooth out the traffic situation that we're in right now, where everybody arrives at the same time and leaves at the same time. And so I think it'll actually, make for a better fan experience, reduce traffic, and so that's one of our goals.
We talked a little bit about the scoreboard, but I know there are some other things going on inside the ballpark having to do with things other than specifically the team, which we're going to get to in a moment. But when somebody shows up in April to Citi Field, apart from the new scoreboard, what else will they notice right off the bat as different and perhaps and hopefully better?
Yeah, we're improving seating around the stadium. We're building out in right field. We're building out a whole new section. I think the fences are coming in 8 feet to accommodate what we're designing. There's new low seating where suites used to be. We're planning out additional places where people can hang out and have a drink and hang out with their buddies. And so, it's all in an effort. When you go to a game, the game's the most important thing, but the world's changed. People want to be entertained in different ways. And we want to provide that entertainment for whether it's the hardcore fan or whether the casual fan.
Well, the best way to entertain them, of course, is to put a winning team on the field.
That helps.
You did that last year with
That helps.
101. Yeah, it sure helps. And you
Yeah.
thought you'd helped it even more when it looked like Carlos Correa was going to sign with the Mets. But that's the last thing from the offseason I want to touch on. I know that he is under contract to another team, so you're limited in what you can say. But
Sure.
any misgivings about how it all shook out?
Right. Listen, I really can't talk about it because he is playing for another team other than when I wish him well. And we have a pretty good team ourselves. Let's not forget. I mean, so I'm excited about the team and I'm excited about the possibilities.
Well, as far as the payroll goes, it's still pretty hefty, even without Carlos Correa. And there was a really interesting interview that you gave to ESPN's Jeff Passan that was just posted very, very recently. And, in reading that, you really do get a stronger sense of the wide disparity between the larger market teams and the higher payroll teams and those who, frankly, put some money in their pockets, along with, saying anyway that they spend it on player development. It is a wide disparity, but at this point, how essential is it to continue to spend while you wait for a farm system to take shape? And is this something, meaning surpassing the tax to the extent that you have so far, that you can see happening for the next 2 or 3 years or however long it takes to where you feel the farm system is built up to what you would like it to be?
Listen, I mean, I made a commitment to the fans that I was going to put a great product on the field. And I inherited a farm system that was hollowed out. And I've been investing in the farm system, investing in new technologies, investing in personnel, and trying to drive the farm system to where I think it needs to go, with obviously Billy at the helm. One of my markers of success, I have a couple markers, okay? One's going to be, let's win a World Series at some point, right? That would be fun. And then the second thing is I'm a big development guy. That's what I do at Point 72. I develop a lot of my future stars internally at the firm. And I want to do the same thing at the Mets. I think the fans love when prospects come up. They get excited by homegrown talent. And I think, why can't we develop quality players in a consistent, sustainable way, like some of the best clubs in the major leagues. And that's my goal, and that's another marker of success.
How far away do you think you are from that right now? Obviously, the scenario changes every year because of the
Yeah,
draft, bring new promising players into the organization. Every team does that. But what is your timeline for sustainability where you don't
yeah.
have to be as concerned about spending to the extent that you have so far?
Listen, it's going to take at least 3 to 5 years. I mean, I consider last year really the first year we got in the right place where we're making the changes that need to be made, finding the right people to be part of the organization. And so that's step one, right? But in any turnaround, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, a player that comes into an organization, it may take him 5 years to get to the major leagues. And so it's our goal to find those players, develop those players, um, turn good players into great players, and if we can accomplish that, I think it's going to. I think it's something that the organization is going to be proud of, and I think the fans are going to love it.
So, is the Dodger model that you looked at when you took over this team still the one that appeals most to you and still the one that you adhere to?
Well, the way I would describe it is the Dodgers have won a lot of divisions, have actually won a World Series, and they have the number one farm system according to uh, baseball analysts, various analysts in the major leagues. It's a pretty good recipe. Okay, so they've done a great job. There are other teams that do a great job, and there's no reason in the world why we can't do the same.
And they've continued to spend too. And I saw in the Passan article and in other places too, where you felt, look, I'm not doing anything the Dodgers didn't do X number of years ago, and the percentages over the tax thresholds are pretty similar to what the Dodgers did. Do you feel when you're around other owners that uh, they look at you from a different standpoint than they would even the Dodgers owners now? Is that part of the initiation of being a big spending new owner? And do you feel that you're looked at differently by the rest of them?
I really don't worry about stuff like that. I mean, I'm really focused on the Mets and driving success for the Mets, and I mean, I've laid out a plan that I think has been pretty clear. I'm laying out my goals. I've been consistent. I want a sustainable winning, and the way to have sustainable winning, I think, is to develop a strong farm system, and then supplement with free agents. And if we can accomplish that, and I don't know why we can't, um, then I'm not going to worry about what other people think. I'm going to try to accomplish my goals, and listen, I'm never satisfied. I'm always trying to improve the team. I mean, that's my goal, and so but we have to be thoughtful about it, and we have to do it in a way that works for the team. Short term, intermediate term, long term. I'm always thinking about what's next. I know Billy and the team and the baseball operations team. They're always thinking about how to constantly improve the team. And by the way, we have some great prospects coming up that I think that obviously we know about Alvarez, we know about Beatty, Vientos, and there are others coming along. And so hopefully they'll start to make an impact this year at some point, and we can look forward to um, accomplishing some of the goals that I've laid out.
Now that you've had a couple of years' experience at this, have you gotten more involved in not so much making the nuts and bolts baseball decisions, certainly from a contractual standpoint, if there's a big ticket player you're pursuing, obviously you're gonna have to sign off on that. But have you gone into baseball operations at all with some ideas since you've been here, or are you just leaving that to Billy and the staff?
Generally, I leave it to them. I have good questions. I try to hold them accountable like I would anybody who works for me. But they're the experts. I'm not going to tell them what to do. My job is to provide the resources that they need, um, the ability to hire the people that they need so that we can accomplish the goals that I've just talked about. I'm not going to pick the players. That's their job. If I got to pick the players, then we got a problem. Okay. I'll let the experts pick them, and then my job is to make sure that they're supported enough so they can accomplish the goals that we've laid out.
One of the goals you laid out from the very first time you spoke to the media as Mets owner was that you'd like to win a World Series within 3 to 5 years. I would assume nothing's changed as far as your wish list goes, but where do you feel you're at right now in terms of being able to satisfy that wish?
Well, I haven't won it yet, right? And that's 2 years in, so time's running out. Hey, listen, you got to set high goals in life, right? I mean, if you don't set goals that seem hard to accomplish, you're not going to accomplish anything. So, I've set high goals. I always set high goals for myself, and whether whether it's at the Mets or whether at my .72 or other things I do in life, and we're going to do our best to accomplish them. But ultimately, I think what I've learned is to win a World Series, you got to put yourself in position every year, and then you get a little luck, and sometimes it falls your way. Only one team wins, 29 teams lose. Okay, and there are a lot of good teams out there, and they're trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. And so, but I think the way to get there is increase your probability, and increase your probability is to be in the playoffs on a consistent basis with a team that can go deep into the playoffs.
We won 101 games during the regular season last year,
Yeah.
and yet it ended in disappointing fashion.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it happens, right? I mean, when we drew it up on the board, that's not how we drew it up ending. And but listen, it gets back to my point. Once you get into playoffs, anything can happen, but you got to keep putting yourself there. And if we keep putting ourselves there, things are going to fall our way at some point or another.
Do you feel you're better now as a team than you were last October when it ended?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think this is a team that's seasoned. I think it's it's a team that likes playing together. I think that year together, winning 100 wins, I think should embolden them, make them perhaps more confident. A lot of players come to New York, and it's not easy adjusting right away. And they have another year under their belt, and I'm excited about how the team looks. We're going to be very competitive, and we'll see what happens.
What do you take from last year that you really embrace and said, boy, that was great. That was special. That's something we can do on a sustainable basis year after year, on the field and off?
Yeah, listen, I went out to Milwaukee for the clinching into the playoffs, and that was fun, right? I mean, the Mets hadn't made the playoffs in a while, and so we got a little taste of being in the playoffs, and obviously we want to go further, and so but that was an accomplishment, right? We won 101 games, so it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but overall I would call this a pretty successful season, and moving the team in the right direction. Things don't happen overnight, right? I mean, you got to measure progress along the way, and I think as an organization we made significant progress last year.
Well, since you've taken over, you had to get the front office in place. Billy Epler, of course, then Buck Showalter as manager. How do you evaluate their relationship, in terms of, being as much on the same page as a general manager and manager can be? And more to the point, where are you in terms of your relationship with both of them and how that dynamic operates?
I get along great with Buck, and I get along great with Billy. I mean, I'm talking to Billy every day. The organization is more than just Billy and Buck, right? There's a lot of talented people in the organization, a lot of talented people that we've hired over the last year, and building new processes, bringing in new technology, new ways of doing things, improving the training of our players. Listen, I assume it's going to pay off at some point, right? I mean, obviously we talked about analytics before, and I'm investing in all parts of the organization, and listen, I'm used to doing this. I do this at 72, but you got to be patient, right? Because investments don't pay off right away. It'd be great if they did, but they don't always pay off right away.
Can you kind of evaluate or sum up that technology and how enhanced it is from what existed when you got here and what specifically it does to improve the product on the field?
The whole point is that, is to take players that are already good at, and talented and find ways to improve them. And I think we can do that. And other teams are doing that. And there's no reason in the world why, utilizing technology, bringing in the best and brightest in the industry, that why can't we take players and try to, make them as get their potential to be whatever it can be.
I enjoyed watching you give Buck Showalter his National League Manager of the Year award recently at the baseball writers' dinner.
Yeah.
For you to have, essentially been the one to sign off on hiring him at Billy Epler's recommendation, how gratifying was it to you? And just how much more can you take us inside the relationship that you have with Buck, who's got very strong ideas about how he runs a clubhouse and a game, and where do you fit in terms of little things you like to impart to someone who's been in the game his entire life?
Listen, I might have an idea and I'll throw it by Billy or have Billy talk to Buck on it, and but it's actually they do their thing. Okay, I mean I'm lucky enough that I was able to attract someone of Buck's quality, and it's a total professional. The players love playing for him. I think he won some games for us last year, with how he thinks about the game while it's happening. He prepares our ball players for all sorts of situations that I wouldn't even be able to think about or even thought that was important. And so we got a great guy. Players love him, fans love him. It kind of fits my philosophy of best and brightest.
Has your style changed as you've evolved over these last couple of years and kind of gotten comfortable with what owning a baseball team is all about? Have you changed in terms of maybe your vision for how that was going to play out and how it's operating right now?
Yeah, listen, you learn, right? So, the way you thought it was going to be versus the way it is. I mean, running a baseball team, it's a small business, but it's actually pretty complicated. I mean, there's a lot that goes into creating a team that can win 101 times. And the amount of effort that's put in by the entire staff in finding in deciding who we're going to put on the roster, how all that works. I mean, what's going on in the minor leagues. The amount of forward thinking that has to take place, how to build your starting rotation. There's a lot of intricacies that have to be dealt with, and it's a lot more complicated than someone on the outside looking in can imagine. And so, the fans don't always see what's really going on, and but there's a lot of thought put into day-to-day stuff, and but that's what it takes to compete. I mean, because we're competing against 29 other teams that are doing the same thing.
One of the things you told us in that very first Zoom, and frankly, the very first press conference that you had after becoming the owner, was that you wanted to work as hard as possible to embrace the tradition and the history of the franchise, and more than anything, welcome the alumni back into a situation where they feel connected to the team again. And having been part of Old Timers Day last year, I can tell you how incredibly special that was, because every one of those players on the field had the same expression. I mean, it was almost like baseball Woodstock, seeing the way those guys were just so happy to feel a part of things again. How can you do things like that? I don't expect a full-blown Old Timers Day like that, where you bring back as many as you did. But what kind of things do you plan on doing with the alumni to keep them engaged on a regular basis?
Listen, I mean, they want to be engaged, and they care about the Mets, and it was so great seeing everybody enjoy themselves. I mean, I guess we hadn't had an Old Timers Day since 1994, which is pretty remarkable.
Yep.
And so I called it like sort of low hanging fruit. That was an easy one to do. I mean, I knew it went even better than I ever imagined. I mean, I was sitting in the locker room with a lot of the '86 Mets, and the stories they were telling. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I was just like, this is great.
Did they clean them up for you or no?
Well, they definitely gave me the PG version, and but I mean, so I mean, being out on the field, and you could see how much fun they were having, and so and the fans loved it too, right? It was just an incredible day to have such incredible memories of your favorite ball players, and so I was really happy the way it went. But it's the type of stuff we can do, right? I mean, I'm still thinking about Bobby Bonilla Day if I can get him.
Now, what would that entail?
I'm not, we'd have to design it, but I'm telling you, it would be fun. Okay, and we'd love to have Bobby do it. And he travels around with his son, who's a terrific golfer, and so he has to, hopefully his schedule can make it work. But if not, if he can't do it this year, I'll be on him next year.
So I'm envisioning like this big ceremony on the field on July 1st.
I got to find a
send
big
him a
piece of
gigantic
cardboard and that
Really?
big check. I mean, it's got to be big though. Okay, so
I got one of those. That sounds. If you're throwing those around, that sounds like a good idea.
right, just like and then let him figure out how to carry it home.
Well, here's the thing about that. You would get great coverage nationally. I mean,
Yes.
you would think that most people would take it in the spirit in which it's intended. It'd be fun.
I just go with my instincts, and let's just have fun with it because it's become almost an iconic day. It's become something that just became viral, and so why not just go with it and then make enjoy it and make it fun.
Is Bobby on the same page with that? If he can make it,
I think Bobby is thinking about it and considering it, and I've had good conversations with him, so we'll see. Who knows?
It would get you a lot of attention, that's for sure.
And it's also so I think we're playing the Giants this year, San Francisco Giants. So it's a good, it'll be a great day at the ballpark.
I know there has been talk about a commercial that you might be running on the Super Bowl. Is that happening?
That is happening. Okay, I mean, I've seen a preview of it. I think it's great. Andy Goldberg, my chief marketing officer, came to me with the idea. So that's what I love. I love when ideas come out of the organization that are new and different. Some are going to work and some are going to just fall, be duds. But if you don't experiment and try new things, and so we're trying something new, right? And I think the fans are going to love it. And I hope, I think it's a commercial well done. It's funny. They'll enjoy it.
By way of a sneak preview, is there anything you could at least tip us off to about what it's about?
Well, we had the previews, right, of perusing, the camera perusing the different desks and trying to identify, whose desk it was. And so the players will be part of this commercial.
Those players are going to be in Port St. Lucie before you know it. And so it's been fun looking back on 2022, but it's all about 2023 now. And Steve, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
And forward to a big season for the Mets.
Thank you for doing this. And we're only, a week away? A little more than a week. I can't wait. So let's get it going.
All right, Steve. Thank you very much. That is the owner of the New York Mets, Steve Cohen. And so if you consider this to have been a win for the Mets, it's our first put it in the books for 2023. And hopefully there will be many, many more. Thanks for joining us.
No, we're really excited. I got to see Eduardo today, and Francisco and Beatty, and just more guys are starting to pour in. And it just reminded me how much I loved this team last year and how much fun I had with them. And I can't wait to start another season with them. It's gonna be a blast, and we're just excited to get to know the new guys. We got a lot of new guys that we're coming to learn, and so we're gonna get everybody to try and pull the same end of the rope and get this spring training started on the right foot. Something that's really special in today's game. Not many guys get to start with a team and end with a team. And that's my goal here, and I'm so excited that I got to sign the contract this offseason. It really is a dream come true if you would have asked us if everything worked out just right, this is how it would have worked out. We would have been coming back, and so we're so excited about it, and we're excited to pursue a World Series with the Cohens and the rest of the Mets organization. Putting it all together, the hitting, the running, the throwing, making sure that it all comes together so that we're first and foremost healthy. You can't help the team if you're not on the field. And then secondly, just trying to build on last year. I felt like there was a lot of things that I did really well last year, and so just trying to build on those and become a more consistent player. I think there's always room for improvement, but we're also not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Just kind of make things a little bit more consistent, work on the small things, and just become a better player overall.